Greetings, my name's Gabriel. This is a self-publishing session video series, how to publish books on Amazon KDP. I've been working on my process of how I make these videos and finding tweaks and adjustments, but I've been doing some ongoing work. I've been publishing books on Amazon for about 5 years. I've been publishing works on Amazon for about 5 years, and I've recently started to focus on it a little bit more to try and do it more professionally, and it was a hobby in the past, but now I really want to try and focus and see if I can grow. I've learned a lot while I've done it. So here's where we are today on what I'm going to work on. I recently published The Comet by W.E.B. Du Bois on ebook. The ebook is already live. I published it. Some of my prior videos show that work, but I just got in the mail the author copy. And what this is before the paperback goes live, you can get a physical sample to kind of check and look through and make sure everything's okay. So I'm not going to be working on this in this video right now, but I wanted to share this update that I got the author copy, and the paperback will be coming very, very soon. Now, an example of why I always suggest you order an author copy before you go live. You can check it as many times as you want digitally on a computer screen to look for errors and things, but there's nothing like the physical book to see what it is that you're trying to sell. Now, I'm very pleased with the cover. You can see the whole idea was to have this comet streak around and go right off the cover. That's exactly what I wanted. So this looks basically ready to go. But there are a couple examples of some things I see when I look at the copyright page. I had some dashes in there, but now when I see it printed, I don't think it looks right, so I'm going to get rid of those. The other major thing that stood out as I've looked through this is right here on this side of the page is a photo image of the cover of the original 1920 book in which this short story was published. And I don't know if you can see so well, but there's a black border here, and here it's only on 2 of the edges. Out of the 4 edges of the rectangle, this border is only on 2 of them. And on the screen, I thought it gave a nice little accent, and I didn't want to bother with doing all 4 edges. But looking at it on paper, because of which 2 edges it is, since it's the inner closer to the seam and the bottom, I don't think it looks right. So I'm just going to add the black border all the way around to kind of reinforce that it's an image. Other little small tweaks like that. Once I do, I'll probably work on that later today or tomorrow. I'll send it live, and then we'll, go on. I'll keep you all updated. There's just once you go live, the work isn't done. There's still more to do. But right now, we're going to go into what I'm working on today, which is Ernest Hemingway, In Our Time. So I recently finished, let me see if I can pull it up. I recently finished the PDF interior for the print version of In Our Time. I've been working on this book for a while. It's kind of been a side priority and not a main priority, but I really want to get it wrapped up and out there. So here it is. I recently finished it. So all I have to do is the book cover, and then I can get it uploaded. And now when I say I finished it, obviously, like I just showed with the Comet, what that means is I just finished this kind of first draft so that I'll be able to submit it, and then I'll order the author copy again, and review it that way before it is published. But the way my workflow is I work on the print physical copy first, like this. I do the cover, I upload it, I order the author copy because that takes a little bit of time for it to get mailed to me, And then once I've ordered that, that's when I shift over to the ebook and create the ebook in a program called Kindle Create. I have another prior video in this series where I did that for the Comet, so I'll do that again for this book, and that's kind of the cycle I go. Now, there's a couple little complications. For example, I live remotely. I'm a digital nomad. Today, I'm broadcasting from a public library in Massachusetts, but I'm all over the place. So that can create some logistical challenges in getting the author copy that I order. I have to line that up. There was a little bit of delay with the Comet for this reason, but that's what makes this fun, and that's kind of what I wanted to share with you, is to show you really how you can do this. Even all the little challenges you face, the ones I face will be different maybe than the ones you face if you want to get into this book publishing on Amazon. But the idea is to confront the challenges, be flexible, adapt, overcome, keep moving forward, keep learning, keep improving. So again, here's the physical version. This is the first one where I've done color interior. Now that will raise the printing costs, and generally I've avoided doing that. This book, I made an exception, and as we go through, we can talk about why I made the exception. But again, I think I've given enough of an introduction. What we're doing now is we're working on the cover. Now this cover, this time I'm doing in Canva. Sometimes I use GIMP as an image editing program, and sometimes I use Canva. I think I've talked about this in some other videos, and actually I misspoke. This is going to be a good session. So what I like about Canva, I really like Canva for putting in the text. And again, I've just copied a project from the Comet, which I used before, so my sizing is right and everything's kind of lined up. And now it still even has like the text here from the Comet. I need to kind of insert this with my new information. But Canva is really easy for lining these things up. However, using the free version, there are some limitations. Okay. So using the free version, there are some limitations with using Canva. And this is a perfect example. Now, I want this image of Ernest Hemingway to be a little bit transparent and let that cosmic image come through a little bit. Now, I could just adjust the transparency, but that's not what I want to do. So because of that problem, I'm going to go into GIMP and then come back into Canva. So the way I solve that is I'll duplicate this image. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete all of this. I can explain why in a moment, but I just want to save this background because this background is lined up the way I want it. So I'm going to download that. I've talked previously about PNGs versus not PNGs. In this case, it doesn't really matter. I'm doing a little bit of visual editing to that illustration of Ernest Hemingway. And what I'm going to do is, so I'll save this in our time cover base. In our time. Now I also need this page 2, and that the reason for that is just to line up the other one. So this will all make sense when I go into GIMP. It'll make some kind of sense at least. Okay, and for the cover, obviously you on the one hand you want to spend a lot of time to make sure you get a good cover because the cover is one of the biggest selling pieces for your book. So it's one of the primary ways you're going to get someone to click on your book is, through the cover. On the other hand, where I am now with, time, I don't want to spend days and days and days working on this cover. I want to be efficient and fast and get something up there. I have some experience in what I'm doing, and on this this particular step of the process. So what I'm going to do is try and have the cover done within 90 minutes, I think is a reasonable amount of time. I'm trying to balance creating high quality content with also, if I'm doing this seriously as a business, I want to try and focus and be efficient in these things that I'm doing. And since, I've thought about it, I already have a vision in my head for what I want the cover to be like. So I don't think it'll take me that long to make this cover. However, there are always delays and obstacles and issues that might pop up. But just to give you the way I'm thinking about this, I'd like this to be done in less than 90 minutes, hopefully much less, but that's about the amount of time working in even, some allowance for delays and obstacles or something not coming out right. Including making these videos. These videos do slow things down a little bit, but I really do enjoy it. It makes it kind of interactive for me in terms of making the process. It's fun. And also they're, be totally transparent. The idea with these videos is to also, it's a form of promotion. The way I'm promoting is through this YouTube channel, which is about the process of how to publish books generally, but in sharing that information with you, sharing with you the way I do these things, I'm also promoting the books that I'm working on. But as I've said in other videos, I'm not working with a top-of-the-line computer system. I have a very, very basic, bare-bones computer system. This is an old HP laptop, so that it struggles with some of the software. It struggles and slows down with this screen record while I'm making these videos. There's a lot of obstacles that I navigate, but one of the positives about all of this is that what I'm demonstrating is you don't need the shiniest, newest, most expensive tool in order to publish books on Amazon. You can do this with very, very basic resources. All right, so I'm pulling up GIMP. As I said before, this is an open source free program, very similar to Photoshop. I use it quite a bit. Okay, so if you're familiar with Photoshop, you can get your way, you can figure out your way around GIMP pretty well. It's very, very powerful. I'm not an expert on it. I just know enough to do what I need to do with it. So here's what I wanted to do. And there's other ways that this could have been done, but this is the way I'm doing it. So I wanted to bring this Hemingway image in. It's an illustration. This was actually an original illustration of Ernest Hemingway from the original publication of this book. It's a wood cutting that you can see. So I'm going into the modes here. And in the modes, now that I've selected it, I can go through some of these. There's overlay. There's a lot of different. So lighten only. That's interesting. That's getting closer. Canva can do this, but Canva can only do it with the paid version. So I'm not going to pay for Canva when I can just spend a few extra minutes going into GIMP, which is probably more powerful than Canva, and go through here. Now, I'm not an expert on these different modes, but I've been played with them enough that I know, okay, see, that's a real extreme. So it creates the transparency. What I'm looking for, this might be close. I want to preserve the black ink of the image as much as possible. Overlay, yeah, so overlays worked for me well in the past. Overlay might be the one. This might be it. So let's see. This grain merge is kind of neat. I want a little bit, but basically what I'm going for is I want the part of the image, the original illustration that's white, I want that to be transparent and let the cosmic universe come through, but the black I don't want to be transparent or lower the opacity on it. So I liked grain merge and overlay. I'm going to go back to grain merge. And an easy way to do this, instead of having to click on that mode thing and then scroll through and go up and down, is once I have this box kind of selected with these dotted lines all around it, now I'm just on the keypad using my up and down arrows, and that's how I'm going through these different options. So when I was looking at overlay, let's see, I'm going to increase the size just a little bit. And I have a preview up here. This might do it for me. Or there's grain merge. So, no, this is closer. So you see how with grain merge, there's still enough of the white that that rectangle bounces and pops throughout it. So that's what I want. Now, I could go in and get more control. There's a couple other things I was thinking of possibly doing to, manually adjust the transparency. But again, I'm talking about speed. This is as close to the vision, and when I'm talking about this, I have this previewer on the right here, which is kind of a preview of what I'm trying to do. So I think this grain merge on the Hemingway image layer is going to work. Now, what I brought in was the mock layout from Canva, and this is so I can now place my Hemingway image and I'll use the scale tool to scale it up. Now, it doesn't have to be 100% exact, but this is so I know that it's lined up. So that's pretty close. So now I just delete that away. So now I have this base. What do I think? I think I like it. Let's go with this. So I'm going to save this. This is all in a folder called, in our time, called cover. Now what I just saved was the GIMP file. This isn't the image, so now I have to export it. I'm going to export a PNG in the cover file. Okay, so again, a thing I want to really emphasize, this is an over the shoulder. This is the way that I really make a book cover that is going to be on a book that's going to be on Amazon and sold all over the world. Now, could I use a different program? Yes, there's that. Could I try and put the text in GIMP? Yes. Could I have tried to get some similar looking decent cover all in Canva? Yes. There's no wrong way to do it. This is the way I do it, and I'm using, one thing that I do think is important to consider is what I would challenge you if you want to do this is avoid tools that cost money. So for example, Canva, a paid version, I'm only going to pay for that if it really, really demonstrates value. I'm not opposed to ever buying any kind of tool, and I greatly value the tools I use. But only hold on, let me see what's going on with this screen. There was an issue on our end, it says. So I'm gonna reset this. But what I'm talking about is when you look into research how to publish books on Amazon, I've seen a lot of advice that talks about buying this software and that software, and everything costs a few dollars. Now, the analogy can be made in business. So when you talk about like the gold rush, so when there's a gold rush, and by that I mean there's some part of the world where there's some land where gold is discovered, and everyone runs to that area to try and strike it rich by mining for gold. And there's a saying that the people who make money during that time are the people that sell the axes and the supplies for the miners, as opposed to the miners themselves. So there are a lot of tools, and they are very, very helpful out there to support you in doing book publishing on Amazon. But the money adds up, and then you have to sell more books just to cover expenses. My approach is to keep my expenses near zero. I'm using an old laptop, free software. I'm into the public. It's consistent with, I publish a lot of public domain books. These are books that public domain books are books that there is no copyright, or the copyright has expired. They're free to use, but they have value. And if you want to, get into a conversation about what do I mean by public domain books having value, so I think one of the best examples of the value of public domain books is Walt Disney. So what did Walt Disney do? Walt Disney took fairy tales, which are in the public domain, and made new versions of them, adaptations of them, and he built a content empire. So similarly, not many people are interested in a new book by Gabriel Munoz-Calene. That's me. No one's interested in a book by Gabriel, but we're talking about Ernest Hemingway. So I think that that's very, very interesting, and there's incredible value here. And then look at all of these creative decisions. My cover that I'm making for the Ernest Hemingway book, In Our Time, I mean, if you haven't read it, or you have, I don't know how many other people are doing the cosmic angle like I am. That's what I love about this, is you get to do your own unique style. You bring it to it. So my version of In Our Time is different than yours if you do a version of In Our Time. So, and again, the approach that I'm sharing with you is focused on sharing free tools and free processes and ways of doing this that work. And I've been doing this for a number of years. One thing that I have found that works for me is I like to use GIMP for the more detail-oriented image editing and manipulation, but Canva is just faster and smoother. I'm talking free Canva version is good for messing around with title text and things like that, because the way everything snaps into place and their font options, and it's clear and easy to see. So what I'm trying to do is get the best of get the best out of it of use each tool for the job that it's best at. All right, so we're getting closer on the cover. There is some questions. One is, should the text be somewhat transparent or not? Or there's some other things we can do to make the text pop, or should the text be color? I don't know the answer to these things, but it's something I'm thinking about. The other thing is we need to change this. So let's go into in our time. A modern translation of the classic short vignettes. All right. All right, so I'm working on some back matter. So I'm going through, I'm finding chunks of content. So for example, one thing I have is so there's a couple quotes about this book that I really like. One I really like is this D.H. Lawrence one. Mr. Hemingway's sketches are excellent, so short, like striking a match, lighting a brief, sensational cigarette, and it's over. Um, All right, give me a minute while I try and come up with something to write here. Okay, so there's a couple things I've done here. Okay, I think this accomplishes what I wanted to accomplish. Let me make sure this is the same size. 24, 24. Okay, so yep, here's what I put on. A modern translation of the classic short vignettes. This edition of In Our Time preserves Ernest Hemingway's original words from 1924, but is published a century later. The modern translation weaves in a quiet chorus which reminds us, in our time, there was the war. Written by Ernest Hemingway, a Nobel Prize winning literary giant, he wrote in sparse prose and drank to the bottom. Illustrated edition, a timeless work about a time of war and social unrest. Okay, see, I'm glad I read that out loud to you. I'm happy with almost all of it except for the very last sentence, a timeless work about a time of war and social unrest. Timeless work about a time doesn't work. So it's in our time. I either got to remove the word timeless or time of war. I think I'm going to take out the second one. I'm going to keep timeless. A timeless work about war and social unrest. About our wars and social unrest. Do I put in R? Maybe. One of the things that draws me to this book is he was talking about World War I when he's talking about war in our time. And he, had experiences in World War I where he served with the Red Cross as an ambulance driver and, was wounded in so many battles and things like this. But our nation has just come out of 20 years of war. And I'm a veteran of the 20 years war. And the thing that is important is how quickly people forget, particularly civilians, forget or don't acknowledge our world and our wars. So I do want to be thoughtful and intentional. Now, the other thing about this particular project for me that is very interesting is Ernest Hemingway was a man of few words, very sparse prose. So all of my descriptions and additions and commentary about this book, it wouldn't be proper for me to use an abundance of words or overly talk through. I want to try and be concise in the words I use for the back of the book. When the interior of the book has very, very sparse prose, it wouldn't make sense to have an overly wordy back of the book. So these are the types of thoughts I'm having. But this is what I find interesting about this particular project. So illustrated edition, a timeless work about war and social unrest. I could say a timeless work about our wars. In our time, there was the war. I'm going to leave it like this for now. Defaulting back to what I was saying before about all right. I just did a little thing of a shadow to make the title pop. I think that works for me. It's a little risky. And what I'm talking about is the readability of the white text of In Our Time. I don't really want it to be another color, so I'm going to try this. Okay, so behind the scenes, over the shoulder, making a cover for In Our Time. So I just finished that. I'm going to get out of Canva. It's good to explore, but also, again, with the efficiency and the goals that I have for today. I want to keep moving forward. So what did I show you that I have today? I have the 5x8 PDF of the print version of the book, and I have the cover. So that means now I can go in and upload this to Amazon KDP. So I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to just get it started. I'm probably not going to finish it because there are some things that I do need to spend some time on. So, but I do want to show you, for the work I was doing, how I got the PDF. Again, the PDF, I didn't say in this video, but I've showed in previous ones, I use a program called Scribus. That's an open source free software for book formatting and layout. All of my books I've laid out in Scribus. It works great. Again, a little bit of a learning curve, but not too bad, and there's tons of tutorials. So I need to focus. Now I'm in my Amazon KDP account. I'm in my bookshelf. I'm creating a book. It asks, what would I like to create? I am going to create a paperback. All right, so now you can see. Now here, now this is a draft title and subtitle. Now your title and your subtitle are very, very important. Once you publish, it's locked in and you can't change it. And also the way you phrase your title and subtitle. The subtitle in particular is how it will be viewed on Amazon. I think your title is your title, and if you are writing your own book or you're publishing a public domain book, you have the title. But the subtitle does give you a little bit of room for marketing or commentary or description about the work. But on the other hand, you don't want to get too spammy where you have like a whole paragraph of the subtitle. So this is my draft right now, and I'm going to do some research and some tweaking to see if I want to change that later. Also, when you're doing a public domain work, sometimes you want to make sure okay, I want to finish that thought. When you're doing a public domain work and you're putting in an author that isn't yourself, you want to make some checks to make sure that this picks up, because when I say Ernest Hemingway, I want Amazon to pick up the Ernest Hemingway, the famous author. And if you have like a little typo, or maybe you write the name differently, particularly authors who use initials, like when I did W.E.B. Du Bois, for example, you got to be careful that it doesn't think you're coming up with an original new name. You want this work to be linked to all the other works on Amazon by Ernest Hemingway. Now, for contributors, in this case, I'm putting myself as the editor. I could also put myself as the illustrator, but at the same time, it's kind of, it all depends. Sometimes I've added works by other authors and put them in there. The book description, I'm just going to put this is placeholder text. I'm going to go in and do some research and some formatting, to be transparent. I'll use AI a little bit for this. I don't want to just take whatever AI gives me. You got to, edit it a lot, because, AI written content is identifiable, especially on things like Amazon, where a lot of people are using AI for this kind of stuff. but still it's a tool that's helpful. So I'm going to use it to flesh out and maximize what I can out of this description. But you need some placeholder to get the draft saved. So I'm putting that here. This is a public domain work. Sexually explicit images or title, no. Reading age, let's say 13. I'll do 14. It's about war. That's it, at what age is it proper to read about war? Now this is written in sparse prose, and it's not explicit for sure. But at what age is should someone be reading this? It's an individual, that's for the individual person to find it. I guess I could use the guidance, choose the youngest and oldest ages at which a person could enjoy this book. Yeah. Okay, the categories. This is another area. This is why I'm showing this to you. I'm going to make some quick selections, but a lot of the advice on self-publishing books on Amazon talk about the keywords and the categories being one of the most crucial decisions you can make in uploading a book. And that's something that I'm trying to strengthen, and I want to dedicate more time and focus into these categories. There's a lot of secondary effects based off the decisions you make here. So I don't want to rush this. I'm just doing this to get the draft saved. So I'm going to put some placeholders, but I'll spend some time separately going in and refining these categories. And also, I'll share that with you once I've done some time outside of the video. I'll show you what I've come up with. Now, what am I talking about? So under these categories, what is this? So this is literature and fiction, classics. That's a category, so I can go with that. Now, the whole idea is you want to get as specific and drill down as far into the categories as you can. Well, at this, so these are three I've done. Fiction and literature classics, United States classics, short stories. I might want to do something different, but okay. Now the keywords, this is something I really need to do a lot of research in. I don't even really have, I'm not even going to fill in these more because I think I can save it. It says they're optional, but the idea with these keywords is you want it to be really, really long, like what someone would actually type into the search bar in Amazon. And if you just say classic Ernest Hemingway or like a one-word thing, keyword, my understanding is that's not really, that's kind of wasting the keywords. If you can get something very, very specific, not only that, something very, very specific that people actually type in, and a way you could kind of test that is kind of when you're typing in a search in Amazon and it kind of will finish the sentence for you. That kind of is an indicator that, here, let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's go into incognito. So real quick, I just want to give, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's worth it. So we go into books, and let's say we want Ernest Hemingway. So Ernest Hemingway, and you can see I just typed in the words E-R-N-E-S, and it has Ernest Hemingway, Ernest Dempsey, Ernest Hemingway books, Ernest Hemingway short stories, Ernest Hemingway biography. So what you want to do is have those kinds of snippets but even longer. Now, this is just an example. I don't want my keywords to actually be Ernest Hemingway, because that's another waste of the keyword, because this is already a Ernest Hemingway book. So what I'm trying to do in finding these phrases for the keywords is, what would someone be searching for without using the words Ernest Hemingway, without using any other title or any other famous author? You can't use anything like that. But the types of short story collections, this is an example, short stories for veterans. I don't know if that's something that anyone would actually search. So I don't know if that's a valuable keyword, but that's the example where I already have Ernest Hemingway established within the algorithm, let's call it. But so what other things can I put in? Okay, so all of that tangent just to say I need to go back and spend some time and come up with some good keywords. And that's something I need to really go back and check for all of my books. All right, I do 5x8s. 5x8s, like this, the Comet. This is a 5x8. This is a size I like. I really like to publish what I call like these small, like pocketbook kind of things, because I figure someone that's gonna buy a physical book this day that's kind of short. What I'm selling the proposition is something that you can kind of throw in a backpack. I'm not trying to do Crime and Punishment, like a 1,000-page book or something. I like this idea of like a pocket read. That's really what I have as my inspiration for the types of books I like to publish. So I'm uploading that manuscript. Now I'm on Cover Creator. Going to upload the cover. And I'm almost done here, getting to a point, but I wanted to show you where I am in the process and what I hope to do today. So I like to make my covers outside of this Amazon KDP and then bring it in here. So that's what we were working on earlier using Canva and GIMP. So we go to Hemingway, cover, now there is a thing where you can put in the text on top of the image within Amazon KDP, but again, I don't like that. The way I've done it for all of my books is I like to do all of that separate outside, and that's between Canva and GIMP. So then I gotta go in and delete all of the auto-populated text that they put in here. Okay. I think I missed. So what I was doing is I'm deleting the text that Amazon put on top of my cover because I already have text there. So, and it looks like I missed something. Yeah. So this modern translation of the classic short story read vignettes of the classic short read vignettes of war and social unrest. I need to get rid of that. Also, it's helping me see that maybe that subtitle isn't, maybe that can be improved. The wording of that maybe doesn't sound good when read out loud. Okay, so now this is the cover that I created and sized and the other programs uploaded. That looks good. That's what I wanted. Save and submit. Okay, so now that I've created all of this stuff, did you use AI tools in creating text, images, or translations of your book? I will say very, very little in this case, but in the text, some sections with extensive editing. I didn't do it with images. I'm not even sure if I used it necessarily on this one, but I'll leave it. I do use it, so I'm not trying to hide the ball on that, but in this particular case, I'm not sure. Well, I kind of did. Yeah, there's a complicated backstory to how I made this. All right, so this is what I wanted to show you. So now we've made it today. You know, again, the reason why I wanted to create this draft is now I have my print draft up in Amazon under preview. They put the barcode right there. Notice how this was all sized to accommodate all of this. And that's because I used prior covers as a template, so I knew kind of what would fit and what would work. But if, for example, I had done this and this little corner with, you can see there's a subtle kind of semi-transparent black rectangle, if that would have cut into, you know, where the barcode is, then I would go back into Canva, back into GIMP, and make modifications and then upload it again. And so that's kind of every time I do it, I get a little faster because I have templates of the things, you know, sized the way I want them. So I'm going to come back and spend a lot more time making sure that. Oh, okay. So one thing I already found is I accidentally selected black and white as opposed to color. So I got to exit. I'm changing it color now. Standard color. And this is why I do it. This is the first one that I've done color. I'll make less of a profit, but for this case, these illustrations I had already made these illustrations to be covers for a musical album that I had created previously. This kind of started off as a concept musical album, and that is already done and up on YouTube. I'll show that in just a little bit. There's more I'm going to do with the album. I want to split it up into different songs and everything. But again, the way this is written by Ernest Hemingway, 18 short story classic vignettes, when I read them, I thought of them that they would make cool songs. And that's when, you know, AI had come out and everything. And there's some, you know, there was an AI song program or a music generator called Suno. And I used that to create these songs. And I'll go into all of that at another time, but that's where I had these color images already because they were the thumbnails for the song covers, and I wanted to use that. And that's kind of the idea in this. This is kind of an exercise where I want to use the songs that I created to promote the selling of the book. And if people want to support the art in the songs, you know, maybe they will buy the book, is kind of the marketing idea. So, oh, see, there it is. So, color interior. Now, this book, it's a short read, has a lot of space to let things breathe. And I've already found something that I'm going to need to change. And this is why I go through this process. So just so you can see, I went back and forth on this. So in the book, like many books, in my template, and this is in Scribus. So this is my paperback layout program. I can have a layout where it has the author and title and page numbers on the bottom and top, and those look good when there's content on them. However, on blank pages, sometimes it doesn't look good. So, for example, each of the vignettes has this color illustration before it. The way I've done it now is with just the title and the page number here. I might take it all the way off, but I think I kind of like it. And then I have the page to the left, since there's no content there, it's blank. However, if you look here, the page to the left has Ernest Hemingway, page 7 on the bottom. So it's inconsistent. And also my goal, I thought, was to have this blank and to have the title and page number on the bottom. Looking at it now, I'm thinking of making it all blank and just letting the image stand for itself on a whole blank page. And these are the kinds of things. One, I'm looking for inconsistencies, because those you definitely want to correct, because unless they're intentional, and inconsistencies rarely are intentional, that's what I would call an error in your book, and you want to proofread to prevent errors, because those inconsistencies will draw attention and it won't look as polished or high quality if you don't address those. But then there is, as we're talking, there are certain, once I make it consistent, there's several options of how I can consistently apply the author and book title and page numbers across the book. And that's where the creative, that's my, Gabriel's independent creative contribution to this edition of the work. All of those little decisions. Where do I want to have, you know, text with page numbers and titles and authors, and where do I want to remove it? And, you know, so you can see on these pages here, these introductory pages, we don't have them, but generally we do have them where the actual content of the story is. So anyway, this is why I've brought it up to this stage. I'm not going to click approve because I'm not done. I'm going to exit the print previewer. I'm going to save this out. We're going to wrap up this video. I'll come back at another time. So save draft. Now the other thing, just you know, as we wrap it up, so I've saved this. Now I can leave, go to my bookshelf. And now I have In Our Time. Look at that. Man, that feels good. That feels like progress. So you can see now, along with all my other books, this is almost ready to go. In Our Time by Ernest Hemingway. Looking sharp. Going to save that. I'm going to click out of that. I did mention that there's a musical album, concept album I call it, that goes along with this. I'm gonna see if I can play a snippet of it, or I could put it in just separately. I have it, you know, the video file, but I'm having some computer lag issues. Let's see if I can get this to play. Okay, so I'm having some computer lag issues. I'll just play it. I'll just cut out the lag. I do want to play it. I think it's neat, and I'm proud of it, and I'm feeling good that I made this progress. So I'm gonna. All right, so let's go to.
Everybody was drunk, the whole battle was drunk, going along the road in the dark. We were going to the Champagne. The lieutenant kept riding his horse out into the fields and saying to him, I'm drunk, I tell you, Monday, oh, I'm so sized. Drunk on the road to Champagne we go, in the dark, the night shadows we go. We went along the road all night in the dark, and the adjutant kept riding up alongside my kitchen and saying, hey, you must put it out, it is dangerous, it will be absurd. We were 50 kilometers from, but the adjutant worried about the fire in my kitchen. It was funny going along that road. That was when I was a kitchen corporal. That was when I was a kitchen corporal.
I tried to do like a grunge kind of vibe, like an old punk. I like this part here.
In a time, in a time, in a time, in a time, there was the war.
There was the war. All right. So maybe Ernest Hemingway is rolling over in his grave, or maybe he's jamming to the tunes. His 1924 short story vignette set to some AI grunge music. That's what we have. Anyway, I know this has been a long video. I'll try and cut out some of the dead parts that were in there, but this is a series, over the shoulder, day-to-day work, how to publish books on Amazon. My name is Gabriel. More to come.